And I wonder if they ever came up with a different voice. Maybe something more
Hang
like
on,
just like the
I
voice.
thought it was up to
hang
you. I
on.
thought that there's no option as the moderator. You can pick a different voice from
I
some
don't know.
menu somewhere.
No, not that I'm aware of. Like that voice, maybe like Leonard Nimoy's or something.
Yeah,
You know,
well, kind of like on your phone with the
or
directions or the GPS or whatever.
or from Star Trek, what's her name? Majel Barrett was the voice of the computer on Next Generation, something like that.
Yeah.
That's what you need. But well, anyway, guys, good to see you. Thank you for accommodating the Thursday switch, but I was actually not available yesterday to actually conduct the meeting. So, and I loathe to cancel a meeting if I can avoid it. So, and as far as, and if by happenstance, we also get to see a couple of people we don't see in our Wednesday meetings. So it kind of works itself out a little bit. But at any rate, it's August. Yeah, August already, which starts getting scary. I certainly as a little kid, it made me think, when August came around, you're thinking, well, Labor Day is right
Yeah.
around the corner.
If
So
my
you're,
my arm used to get a crook like this, like it was going to be carrying the school books.
mm,
Had time to start carrying books across the quad. It was time to go back to
So,
college
so it's like
again.
you were like a sideways Nostradamus.
Yeah. Yeah.
that's kind of more like Igor or but
Unfortunately, it's a sign of old age because I didn't, it was before the era of backpacks to put your books in. It's like that you just carried them under your arm. But
I transitioned to that right around high school as the backpack was the best thing since sliced bread at that point because I didn't miss holding and then your books were getting wet in the weather and this and that, you
yeah.
know, stacking on your if you took a bus ride, stack in your lap, you're afraid they'll fall over, the whole 9 yards. But at any rate, it is August. And this is the last summer month official. Well, not really, not from a seasonal standpoint, but it is like considered the summer off meeting time frame. But at any rate, in terms of announcements, I have a few. First and foremost, we do have another Flea at MIT Swap Fest. Of course, the MIT Electronics and Ham Radio Flea Market in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And that'll be on August 17th from 9 to 2. So if you've missed the prior ones, here's another opportunity. But I know there's at least one or two more. Also on August 21st to 24th, I think you've seen that over the Groups.io email exchanges, but the Ham Exposition Amateur Radio Convention in Marlborough, Massachusetts is not far away. And I know some people and Tom, I'm not sure whether Tom Pereira will be giving any presentations this time around, but there are members of our club who do presentations or will likely be there. So, and it is there for the whole weekend with presentations, of course, and swap meets and so forth. So it's a pretty good sized event. I have admittedly embarrassed to say I've yet to make it because of conflicts and don't know yet whether I can make it as well this year, but time will tell.
Hey,
Um,
John,
yeah.
uh, let me interject. One club member, Mike Murphy, ham call sign is WU2D. He does all I don't know if you guys have seen him, but he does all these YouTube videos on his projects uh, under the moniker Microwave One. Microwave spelled with a K because his first name's Mike. But anyway, he's going to be presenting at the Boxborough, no, Marlborough. It moved the Marlborough event. Uh, he's going to. He had a paper, I think, in the last. No, a paper's coming up either for the AWA Journal or the AWA Review of his on the uh, first Antarctica expedition, and he's going to be presenting on that down at the event.
All right. That sounds like
I don't know what day yet or anything, but
there may be if you go to our calendar page on our website, I do have a link that you can click that will bring you to that site. So I think if memory serves, they put an agenda up roughly of what the days of the speakers are going to be. But I remember this either from a year or two ago that they had that, but the place to check in case any of you are thinking about shooting over there and looking to hear that. But yeah, I'm glad you noted that, Larry, because it's nice to hear about, our club members who might actually be doing something, doing a presentation or doing something interesting at the event. Um, Also, just one other for the benefit of Bill, and Bill, do jump in if I've not covered this clearly enough. There is a place called the New England SciTech in Natick, Massachusetts, which is in Metro West, only about 10 minutes from my house, or so 10, 15 minutes by car, drive time. They have summer workshops, and Bill's grandson is attending, he'll be attending they have a radio wireless tech segment. Doing the SciTech is sort of like a STEM related after school, has additional programs that could interest people. A lot of kids, in electronics, um, and other areas, and they have an area dedicated to, ham radio and radio tech related things. And I believe they're offering a summer program for kids, or in many of our cases, given the demographics of our club, probably be grandkids. If you have grandkids or have children uh, who are interested in this area, especially in the radio wireless tech area, that certainly is complementary to our club. They do have summer programs, and could be a good opportunity to send your kids to somewhere along that path. And they do amateur radio teaching and instruction, so you can get your amateur radio license, I believe, through there. And I know we have obviously local town amateur radio clubs, like certainly in Whitman, where Ross is, and there are other areas that'll do this as well. So, but I actually have to thank Bill for raising awareness of it, because it's right in my backyard, if you will, and I was blissfully unaware of New England SciTech. I talked to the president. His name is Bob, strike that, Bob Finney. And because, we discussed the possibility of having some reciprocal relationship, where they release, maybe post our events, and we would of course put them in our resources page, because I have a list, all the resources and our webpage showing not only members that do direct services for the club, like repairing radios, or in the case of Joe Coco, providing, a way to buy restoration parts, but I also include complementary places, organizations that could, raise, that's complementary to the club, and certainly adding them is easy, and also adding some of their events. They have a couple of events related to, the ham radio side, some swap meets and shows and things like that. I think it's a couple of times a year, and I'll be starting to add that to the calendar. So it's just a nice, and Bob Harris had already talked about. I talked to him a little bit about that, and he suggested, maybe we could give them like students of it, free admission to our shows or something, because you're trying to bring some of the younger generations into our fold. So what better way to establish a little bit of relationship, raise awareness, so maybe there's a few more people who know about us, maybe come to buy some stuff, maybe buy some ham gear. There's always ham gear at our swap meets. So um, I'm hoping to get over the coming months, maybe we can get a little bit more formalization, so that there's at least a little bit of, posting of events on each other's websites and so forth,
And
so.
John, if I may
Oh, please,
interject,
please,
there's
Bill.
also a component of radio history from the Titanic onward, and that's what excites me the most, because I think when we can bring our young people into, particularly ones that are interested in history, and bring them from that era right through to what perhaps they may be more interested in, which is the transistor, what have you, going forward. I think that's a way that maybe we can capture some of them. And as all of us with the gray hair pass on. And quite frankly, I'm telling my grandchild, you know what? When you get to be perhaps in high school and you learn how to repair these sets, you might have a really good business because there might be a lot fewer of us around then. So, but thank you for mentioning it, John.
No, of course, Bill. I mean, I actually, like I said, thank you for raising awareness because, um, it's very easy to miss these things. And, we have this sort of interesting nugget of a company of a, if you will, a STEM schools focus on, yes, certain areas, but, there's a nice ham radio related area which is perfectly complementary for us. And, those things don't show up all the time. And so hopefully we'll get something a little more formalized and hopefully I'll get it up on the website in the coming, sometime this year, just so that, there's, some relationship here. And who knows what other things will come out of this. I'm hoping to get over there in September and have some time. And he said, because things ease up because the summer programs are done, in September to maybe come over, just sort of, see the place, and see if there's any other relationship reciprocal in terms of, he said he does have, for example, space. So, would they ever want to use that space for something, whether it be a meeting or whatever the case may be? I have to talk to him about it, and see what the facilities look like and what he had in mind. But at any rate,
I
they just don't mind
appreciate it.
share. Oh yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Sure. Um, anyway, that's that. Does anyone have any announcements I might have overlooked? All right. Well, then, as today's meeting is an open forum round robin, I think it's time to do some round robining, don't you think? So I don't know. I'm going to be. This is like Hollywood Squares. I got exactly nine people. Still that wonder if it wasn't Paul Lynde, right? That was the classic Hollywood Squares. He was. I remember the kid. I thought he was even funny back then. But anyway, hey Rob, in Arizona, how you doing out there?
Hot, very hot. It's actually 101. It was 102 here in Prescott. So it was 118 in Phoenix.
Yeah.
118. That is absolutely insane.
Yes, indeed. It's toasty.
Yeah. Well, I do have two things.
Great.
Bring
What's
up.
going on?
All right. Well, one is non-radio and one is radio.
Go ahead.
Press share, right? Share is not turned on.
Oh, sorry. I am asleep at the
Uh,
wheel.
Well, I'll be happy if I can navigate this thing. I've never been one for computer apps. They
You
just,
are.
I just glaze over. I go, look.
It's, you know what? I sometimes say if you can't do the basics without, intuitively without,
Computer hardware, I have no trouble with. I used to troubleshoot mainframes,
yeah.
and I ran a test department for PCs. But go to applications, and nope.
Well,
Oh well.
yeah.
Anyways,
But you do have share that you are now allowed to share.
oh, all right. I guess. Oh, I haven't selected a screen.
There's something is about to pay.
Ah,
Oh,
There we
okay.
go.
there we go. This is my big project. I finally got around to building a workbench, and that's how the frame worked out. Just all 2x4s, you know,
Oh,
$50, whatever. Not
oh,
very expensive.
looks good.
Yeah,
Well,
that's the frame. And then the wood was weird. The every time I touched it, I got little tiny slivers that you could hardly feel. And I just said, well, that's enough of that. So I had a can of some stain with poly on it. And then I put the center support in there to separate um, a sawdust collection system. And see, there it is. That's with the top,
oh,
half
oh,
inch
look at it.
plywood, and then hardboard, $10, $12 piece of hardboard over the top that's just hacked in, so I can hack the heck out of it and change it if I have to.
Yeah, no,
So that was fun.
that looks great.
Yeah, thanks. Oops, yeah. And then
Wow.
there's the front of it. I missed one picture there. Yeah, doesn't tell you what. But yeah, I've got my sawdust collection system, place to put my air compressor and a shop vac kind of stored neatly in there.
Nice.
Yeah, it's great. I've used it just for a couple of simple projects. I like it because it's large.
Yeah, you can spread out. No,
Yeah,
I'll tell you, there's something like the feeling of having a big open area. You don't have to
yeah,
be,
and
yeah.
it's solid. I can guarantee that. And
Is the
that,
Yeah.
sur is the
what?
surface a full 4x8?
No, no, because I couldn't. If I did that, I couldn't get it out the door once it's built.
Yeah, good point.
It's 33 inches by 80 inches. So
Okay.
33, there's like 34 to the door in that basement, so it'll just squeeze out. I figured if I built it big enough to where I couldn't move, I'd probably have to move. But now that I'm ready to move, I won't.
Yeah, I built some when I moved here, but I used the steel leg kits that they sell on Amazon, and then you source your own lumber, and you can make them pretty much any size you want. You have no control over the height, but in terms of the other two dimensions, you can make them anything you want. And so I could custom make it for the size that to make the most use of the space I had. And it worked out good, but it was expensive.
Yeah.
The leg kits were about $100 each. I made three of them. Leg kits were about $100 each, and then the the all the lumber, the 2x4s and 4x8 plywood came to, this was in 22. The prices were pretty high for the three benches, came to, I think, somewhere around $600-700, something like that. I wonder how much you've got into it besides the labor.
Less than 200.
That's awesome. That's
And
that's
that includes renting the Home Depot truck because I couldn't haul those sheets. They were 4x8 sheets, plywood and all.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was only $20, but about $30 all in on the truck. So, because I live pretty close.
yeah.
Right.
So just
You
hauling.
you did a lot better than I did.
I've used those. I've used those legs in this room. That's all I have is I use those legs. I didn't even think of it. I don't know. I started doodling on paper and figuring out what to put together. Didn't really, see the forest from the trees, but yeah, those do work nice.
Yeah,
But
whoever says money doesn't grow on trees hasn't tried to buy lumber in a while.
That is true. Yeah. Oh, I did not take a picture of it, but one of the sheets of plywood when I got here, like half of it was rotted. The big rotted section of it. I didn't notice it when I was loading it up. But yeah, and it was just as expensive as the other ones. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's terrific. I mean,
Oh,
really
thanks.
nicely done, nice and simple, but very effective at the end goal.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks.
Plus, also, you could probably lay down on that on that bottom shelf, sort of like a
Yeah,
stanza.
probably could. Well, the height was set. I don't have a picture of it, but I have a electric miter saw, power miter saw that I got at a yard sale that this fella had built on a really nice base. But the problem is if I had like a 2x4 or even anything long, you'd have to have a support, put it up there. Well, the height of this table is like right there with the height of the miter. I wheel that up and it's great. Just, lay the lumber right on it. And
Boom.
my other fun project
That's great.
was this guy. This guy.
Oh,
I had
sure.
him. And the reason I brought this up is this line right here on the bottom, manufactured expressly for sale to members of the U.S. Armed Forces, 1945. This one's
Oh,
the one I have is 1946. I thought that was cool. I've never seen a note like that.
interesting.
Yeah. Um, it did not have this coil, the loop antenna, and it didn't have knobs either. It didn't have the whole back. So I started with this, and what I did was set the switches for the appropriate band, and then just went to the loop and measured the capacitance. And then I figured out how many turns to make a loop of such a size, approximation, to get the inductance so it would be resonant in the middle of the band. I don't know if that was necessary, but it worked out very well. So then to make the loop, I sketched this out, and this is actually a piece of plastic. It was a panel from some equipment. It was scrapped out a long time ago. I sprayed it white, then marker pen, and then put it on the scroll saw and cut it out. And it turned out like that.
Well.
It didn't stick too well. That's probably the cord I was holding, but it worked well enough. There was 2 coils, and so when I was building it, I would measure the inductance, and then usually had to add a loop or 2 to get it in the ballpark. And it turned out, yeah, I don't know if it's optimum, but it's working.
Well
Wow.
done.
Yeah. That's pretty impressive. Wow.
Yeah. And then, that's just this thing was really dirty when I got it. I mean, it was just caked on dirt. So it took a bit of cleaning and Joe Coco capacitors.
Very good. Wow.
And then this was in pretty bad shape, this panel. And so I found some cherry red automotive paint. It kind of matched. This is more the original color that's down along the
Yeah.
shaft.
Okay.
And that's the closest I came. And let's see. And even though the tubes were rusty, they tested really well. And there I had my antenna hooked up. That thing works pretty nice.
Wow.
And that's I used my RV fiberglass buffing kit. It's really just a rubbing compound, a wax, or a polish and then a wax, and rubbed it out. And that looks pretty good.
Yeah.
But what I don't have, this I got from Radio Museum, I don't have is these knobs. I've been unable to find them. So if anybody knows of knobs, I'd appreciate it. So,
Have you tried gobs of knobs?
no, I have not. That's what I'm looking for. One word?
I don't know.
I think so.
I'll
I-
start out with gobs of knobs. See
Yeah,
if
I
we
think
can-
so.
That's Mike Costi. He's a
Hmm.
member. He's a former president of DVHRC,
Oh,
and that's his gig. And he probably has them if you try to get a hold of him.
yeah, I will do that.
It's interesting that back to that statement about made for the members of the U.S. Armed Forces or whatever it said, that kind of implies that maybe it wasn't generally available, but boy, that sure looks familiar to me. I'm pretty sure I had
Yeah.
those at one point in time. It's kind
Oh,
of
yeah, it might just be this
ubiquitous
chassis.
radio.
It might be just this chassis. I don't
Hmm.
know. Or the 56X11,
Yeah.
Yeah.
RCA made a lot of radios, but that's a radio you just don't see that often.
Hmm.
The shortwave band section that probably has nothing up there at all. Probably doesn't even have to work.
I think what is it? WBCQ still operates at 9330, but it's mostly religious stuff.
Uh,
But there's still some entertainment programs. I've been able to find stuff on between like 9300 and 10,000 KCs. There's some stations there, but not too much. I actually picked up Auckland, New Zealand on my little handheld Sony on my dining room table one morning right after a storm we had here. So nothing's out of the ordinary. You could find stuff. You just have to catch it at the right time.
What's the lower frequency limit on the shortwave band? I can't read it.
I think 9.3.
Oh, you should tweak it so that it goes down to 7 megahertz. Then you could listen to the hams up around 7285 to 7295 on AM, and you'd probably hear me up there sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I think that radio will require too much tweaking there. It just, I think it only goes down to about 9270 or somewhere in there, and that's about it.
yeah.
Strap a big capacitor across it. See if the local oscillator will still start up.
Yeah, and then just do a Tim Allen. Oh, I rewired it.
Rob, the knobs, are they about an inch across?
Yeah, that'd be about right.
And they are they like flat, half circle for the shaft? What's the
Yes,
shaft?
they are half circles.
Okay, I may have some. I have to go dig around for them, but if you want to give me an address or a way to contact you, I'll see if I can find them and get you a couple.
Okay, I'll send you. I'll just put it on the chat. I'll put my address.
Perfect, thanks.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Where was I? Yeah, that's what they look like.
We have the little gold
I swear,
inset.
I think I've got some of those kicking around somewhere too. I would just have to do some digging.
Oh,
I had a lot of RCA radios over the years. So
Hey, hi there, buddy.
Oh, there's the other one.
yeah.
That's terrific, Rob. You're well on your way. You sound like you have a few options
Yeah.
for getting some knobs.
Yeah, and that's about it. You want to stop the? I stop the share up here. There it is.
Yeah.
Stop share.
Mr.
Right.
Bennett, how do you get the cat to change colors like that?
Well, it depends on how much bleach we use in a washer.
There you go.
Nice. We have two cats. That was younger and twice as heavy cat. He's eating right now, as a matter of fact. Nice shot. So
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Rob. That's some good stuff. I thought that Workbench it's critical for restoring your radio anyway, so I consider it on topic anyway. It's at the end of the day, it's a tool.
All
So,
right.
I no longer have enough room for a workbench that size. It's like
Well, that's why I ended up building it. Because see, what I had down there first was an oak dining room table that I bought just after we were first married, but it had some nasty burn stains in it or chemical burns. So I refinished that and brought it upstairs and took our current dining room and had it down there, which I cleaned up, but it was just in the way. So I sold it through the newspaper. People came right over, took it away, and that gave me the room to put that one in. I am quite restrained in room here also. Just
Mhm.
too much junk.
What you can do also is if you want a slightly different kind of workbench like that, if you get yourself 4, 5, or 6 consoles, and then you all about the same height, and then you can just throw a piece of plywood right across the top of them all, and then you've got all these consoles, and you still have a work table.
Plus, yeah, you got all the consoles. Turn them all on at once. Right?
Yeah.
All righty.
All right. Well, that's awesome. Well,
And I have the 4 or 5, 6 consoles.
yeah, that's right. Hey, since I have you, Bill, do you feel up for saying a few words? What's going on in your world, as much as you're feeling up to?
Well, we're constantly on WARA radio in Attleboro, which is small town AM radio at the finest, like it used to be back in the day. I remember listening to WPEP in Taunton, probably 500 watts, I don't know. But if you got 5 miles down the street, you could barely hear it in Eddie Litchfield and that. But anyway, they've been very amenable to making announcements for our club and for our club events. Other than that, there's not too much going on. I've been in the house for the last 4 or 5 days because of the COVID, but I'm just doing the best I can to get my grandson involved, and he seems to have some excitement about the tube radio technology. And like I mentioned earlier, I said, if you can learn a little bit of that when you get into high school, and many of us are gone, you're going to have a nice side job on your hands. So, but other than that, not much. But I am anxious, John, when you have a chance to talk a little bit about your uncle's um, uh, reaction to that model that you made, because I am amazed at what you did. So,
Well, thank you. Well, yeah, I'll there's some time, I'll show the finished product. I know some of you, most or a number of you are aware of it. It won't be directly related to vintage electronics, but suffice to say, it took all my available spare time. So
Well, it was a work of love. And
yeah, that's
that's
exactly
great.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what it was, you know. But thank you for that, by the way. I appreciate that, Bill. Um, so, well, let's see here. Well, thank you, Bill. I hope you do feel better.
Thank you.
And thank you, by the way, also for announcing being on your local radio stations to just tell them about our club and try to get, if there's anybody listening out there to go, come to our events, be a member. That's the word gets out. All those little things that members do just to tell somebody else, and they passes on to somebody else. If you can get on the airwaves, and it's free. So thank you for that. It's greatly
Yeah,
appreciated.
I was born and raised back in Attleboro, and I've been in their studios a few times back when I was a kid. So that's great to see it come all the way around. I used to oh, this is back probably in the 60s. I got a chance to do some radio TV repair. One of the Elmers up there took me under his wing. It was Siddell's uh, television or whatever, and they were just down the street on Railroad Avenue. But I remember going up to the radio station because I was so intrigued with it. So, but that's neat to see that come around. I haven't
Yep.
heard about the station in a long time.
And WARA is a nonprofit. It's a station that someone, community-minded individual in the Attleboro area, took over the airwaves so they could preserve that small town AM radio. And I would encourage any of you, you can get it on the internet if you like. The morning show from 9 to noon is hysterical with Paul Healy. And it's WARA.com, and you can listen to it. And you're more than welcome to post with them either by email or to call in and talk about anything that's going on in your tube radio world. Great folks, and they've been great partners in the short time we've been dealing with them.
Well, that's how the word gets out. Just the fact you get on a radio program and get some people, listeners, and also contributors on there, and they pass the word, and it just helps get better reach for us, and it's free publicity. It sounds like a fun time. Well, great. Well, thank you, Bill. Well, George, since we had you there for a moment, how's it going? What's going on with you? Nope, you still on mute there. No
You're
problem.
muted, George.
Yeah, he's working on it. There he goes.
I am okay. Things are going pretty well. I've been really busy, and Wednesday nights are tough, and so are Thursday nights. So I just recently passed technician exam, and so I'm now officially, I guess, a ham. And I've always been a ham, but this one has to do with radio. The And on top of that, we this year we had looked at getting a little I don't know what you want to call it, a small second home up in Shapley, Maine, and we bought that in January. We still haven't moved in. And the latest thing was we found out one of the contractors accidentally hit one of the walls, and there's a bee's nest in there. So we got people going up there tomorrow to try and excavate it. But it's amazing. It took up a lot of time. So consequently, I haven't been able to get on here too much. And on Thursday, there's a ham radio net that I joined. I've joined a club up in Wells. And in fact, they're going to be doing something over at Nubble Light coming up in a couple of weeks. So it's just been interesting, keeping me busy, having a ball, and so far it's been fun. But other than that, we're still here, and I'm glad to see everyone here.
Well, congratulations, George. That's a nice little achievement, and also having a second home. Now, what town did you say this is?
Shapley, Maine.
Now, where is that?
That's up in the Lakes region of Maine, and in fact, we're right near Square Pond up there. It's you go from here in York up to Sanford. You go past that to Springdale, and then after that is Shapley, and it's right on the New Hampshire border with Acton.
I know another ham that lives in Shapley. His name's Taylor. He's got a KE2 call sign, but he
Yep.
belongs to the same club that I belong to, the Lakes Region Repeater Association. I'm in Ossipee, so I'm not too far from Shapley myself.
Oh, that's great. I've been looking to see, what was up there, and my understanding was that the Shapley repeater is DMR, and
It may be. I'm not familiar with it, but
yeah, but Taylor was on the net tonight, so
oh, okay.
um,
So you've heard him.
oh yes, yep. So it's been interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you bet. Thank you, George. That's great.
I'll listen for N1GSK on the airwaves.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Well, since I'll go in as the last person to talk, Larry, how you doing? Good to see
Hi
you.
there. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I didn't come prepared with anything to present. I'm just enjoying the show.
Oh, that's all right. That's quite all right. No problem at all.
But
Just
I would like to mention, I should have mentioned it when you had your announcements, that Jim Bilisick and I are putting together a troubleshooting clinic at Fall Brookline. It's not a repair clinic, it's troubleshooting. Basically, like a training session for people, new people to the hobby who may not know how to troubleshoot a radio, to kind of walk them through the process and see if we can say, okay, to get this radio or whatever they bring in working, this is what you're going to need to do. We're not going to have time to repair anything. Then you got to talk about, okay, parts. Where are we going to find the parts? And, you know,
well, hopefully
but
Joe's right there.
well, that takes care of the capacitors, but they're not the only things that
Right,
fail.
right.
Uh, so plus, we don't know if we get our emphasis is going to be troubleshooting. If it's a slow day and we can, make some time to take it further and maybe do a repair or two, we will, but we're not advertising it as such. And for this first time, it's kind of an experiment to keep it simple. We're limiting it to vacuum tube radios and amplifiers because printed circuit boards and all that, it just is a lot tougher to trace circuits, and we're probably not going to, in that environment, be very successful.
That's terrific. I think it's nice you guys are actually going to try that because, people can just bring something in and maybe at least get some pointers. I was debating personally whether to video this because it's so hard to tell or whether it would really be that effective. Because who knows what it'll be. And maybe this is more, let's see how this goes, and maybe a future version, if there is one, maybe it's worth because maybe you might find yourself saying, hey, I can pick this and we can do this kind of troubleshooting. I'll even do a few, simple parts repair if it's something you can do within reason.
Yeah.
That's the tricky thing. Because some of these things, I mean, that repair, this other troubleshooting double Zoom meeting you gave was, really comprehensive. That took a bit. It wasn't like, I know you did it to do some amount of presentation preparation, but one radio or thing can take a significant amount of time.
Yep.
So well, we could talk about that before the show, see whether it's worth it. I'm sort of leaning towards not, but I will happily bring the camera, which I will anyway, to video the event. But I can do that because I'll have the battery power to do it.
Yeah. What we're going to do is we're going to have a couple wall tables so we have power, a couple 6-foot tables put together, a sign, and uh, we're just going to be there from we're going to start at 10 a.m. because we want to enjoy the show too.
Sure.
So we're going to start at 10 a.m. and go till the show wraps up. we'll see. I have no idea what the demand's going to be, if any.
Well,
But
yeah.
like I said, it's an experiment.
Well, we should definitely, I'm sure Bob will do that. We'll get the word out through the usual means, between Groups IO as well as Constant Contact, and I think that the post already has it on there if memory serves, that you'll be doing this. But if we can get some word out, you know, Larry and Jim will be here to listen to all your troubleshooting sins and foibles.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're also putting a notice in the next Raven that'll be coming out in a few weeks.
Oh, right. Yes, yes, that's right. That's right around the corner. That's terrific. Well, thank you, Larry. I mean, that's going to be great. Hey, Dominic, this must be your first meeting, by the way.
It is. We just got back from a quick 3-day vacation up in Maine and got back a little later than I was thinking, but I thought I'd check out this group. I saw some of your recorded video from last time, and I should add my call sign to this, AG8D, since a lot of you have that. Normally, I remember the Park Club. I guess, are you talking about the Hem exposition coming up?
I touched on it, but you're welcome to say a few words if you have something you'd like to say. In fact,
Oh,
I
no,
think
nothing particular. I didn't know what event you were referring to in what I just got.
Oh, we were talking about the next the Fall Brookline on September 27th, our final swap meet for the year. And yeah, Jim Bolisak and Larry will be doing a sort of a troubleshooting clinic to help people who need pointers to maybe help them get started on how to go about fixing their radio.
Okay.
So this is sort of this is the first time we've done this. So I think Larry and Julie are sort of trying to figure out what the right amount of time. It depends if they have a long line of people, it'll be sort of like, yep, you got a problem. Next. But hopefully, they'll be able to do some amount just to say, get them in the right direction. Maybe, hey, the problem's in the output stage. Here are things you could consider. Things to get them in the right direction. And who knows, maybe
Oh, that sounds like a great idea. So my own restoration or tweaking, I'm not sure which one it would be. I've got, I guess, 3 things I've got. One is making good progress. I've got an AL80B amplifier that I've been working through, making a few changes to. It's got a little bit low voltage on the plate, so I'm probably going to be swapping out the voltage doubler diodes in there. That's sort of my first approach. I'm going to be building a little American Wireless the cap leak detector. That seemed like a pretty handy little tool, especially since I can get it up to 600 volts and test those caps where they're rated. These are 450. I'm also going to try and get the little ESR build that I've seen on the EEV blog. There's a design for a 7 transistor one, and Gerber file to send a board out to get pieces. So if I have all of those, then I figure I'll be able to get a handle on deciding whether or not the caps in the power supply capacitors, the voltage doubler capacitors in that amplifier need to be replaced or not. I hope not. They are stupidly expensive now, like $50 a capacitor, and there's 8 of them.
Ooh.
So that's because they have these screw fittings in them. Maybe I can get away with not using those. That brings the price down quite a bit. They're only like $15 a capacitor, but still. So that's one. I also have an old Heathkit HX10 Marauder that is sitting around, and I want to put that on the air. I've been told that the big issue there is a pretty poor VFO stability. It can take a long time, but I'm going to have to go through tubes and capacitors on that one to see what it's doing. I don't have a tube tester, so that's one of the things that I have to sort of investigate. Maybe somebody has one that I could judiciously borrow at some point in time.
Where do you live, Dominic?
In Littleton.
Littleton. Okay, I'm up in New Hampshire, but I've got Hickok 538. That if you want to make a trip up to New Hampshire and test some tubes anytime, you're welcome.
Might take you up on that, and it's not going to be quick. I've got to get that the amplifier on the air properly first. I then have to hang a different antenna up in some trees. So I've got a few things that are on my shorter list, but I'd really like to get that just for kicks. I'd like to get that on the air. I've been slowly making progress at getting code, getting on top of that, and I don't know. I've made a few contacts, so I guess it's a start. So, but that's fine. And then I have another older transmitter. I can't even remember what it is, but that's sort of what I've got going on right now.
Yeah, my basement's full of older transmitters. I also have a curve tracer, a Tektronix 575 curve tracer that I've adapted to be able to trace the characteristics, the plate characteristics of tubes.
Cool.
I've got a little outboard thing with a bunch of sockets on it, multi voltage filament taps from an old tube tester, and a screen voltage supply and a bias supply that I can you know use if you want to, like well, it's necessary for testing anything bigger with more grids than a triode.
Yeah.
And
No, that sounds really interesting as well. I saw a YouTube video of a guy in, I think, Sweden or Norway, who has he's built his own sort of YouTube tube testing board. And I can't remember his name or what it is, but he's basically got it all sort of in discrete pieces, and it sounds a little bit like what you built. He's got a bunch of different sockets and then different ways to control the different, the filter, the filament voltages and the screen voltages and so on. I just can't remember his name, but yeah, there's clearly some expertise out there, but an actual tube tracer, curve tracer would be kind of handy too. I picked up I'm not sure how useful it'll be yet, but one of these cheap handheld digital oscilloscopes. So we'll see. I've got a couple of older regular scopes. We'll see how those play out. I've even got a really old Tektronix monster, but I have to figure out how to get rid of that.
yeah, I kept one of those. I've got two big Tektronix monsters. One's the curve tracer, and the other one's a 535 scope. And then I've got a more modern HP scope from the 80s that I think goes up to 300 megahertz. The Tektronix only goes up to about 10, 12 megahertz.
Yeah, I picked up a used HP, I think it's an HP scope, goes up to 50 megahertz, and that should be enough to help me get through anything. But when I picked it up, it wasn't expensive. I picked it up from a guy, and is it working? And yeah, I plugged it in, and it's kind of working, but pretty noisy. I'm going to have to do some cleanup on that too. So, too many projects. Anyway, that's me.
Oh, no, glad. Well, Dominic, welcome. It's nice to have some new faces, and hopefully we see you from time to time on our Zoom meetings.
From time to time, and so it depends on what I'm doing. I travel quite a bit as well right
Oh,
now.
I see. And you get, well, obviously from your background, I'd say you are traveling.
Oh, that's the standard Zoom background.
Well, that's easy. Bob Harris, our president, that's his background, and he often wears a Hawaiian style shirt, so he's usually dressed to the part too.
I have some Hawaiian shirts, but this is my part radio club shirt. So
That's hey, we absolutely endorse and respect that as well. So, not a problem. But no, thank you, Dominic. It was great to have you on.
thanks.
So, well, let's see here. Who's the next victim? Russ, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, John. Hello, all. Not much to report here. I don't know if people will be able to see this.
Yeah, let me spotlight this. There we go.
Sure.
Yeah,
There it is.
sure.
It's little 4-tube set. Picked it up. Really didn't need too much work. It's called a Miratone Deluxe.
Miratone Deluxe. I wonder if that's wow.
And
Don't
that's
see that
about
very
it.
often.
You
You don't
can
see that very often. It's those little, microtube ones because it looks pretty small, that thing. Or is
No,
it
it's
standard
got
tube?
regular,
Oh,
what
okay.
was it, 50L6 and
Oh, okay.
what else is in here, but yeah, regular octals. So,
Actually, I don't see those very often.
friends in there.
I mean, I've taken a ton of pictures from all the years of our, oh, wow, you get the whole stickers and everything. I'll tell you, that's in pretty good shape. Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
not too bad. The advantages of it is I actually have room to put it someplace. So
yeah, you don't feel too guilty, right?
yeah, so no, that's it. That's all I have.
No, that's great. Hey, thank you for sharing that because we see a radio I don't see very often, at least not in our swap meets. But
Yeah, it was unusual to me, and price was right. It was local, so
do you know where it
uh,
was made?
uh, I forget now. I'd have to look at my notes of who actually made it.
China.
It was
I
yeah, um,
think it was Monarch.
yeah, Monarch Sales. Well, through Monarch Sales, and somewhere I think I wrote down who actually made it, but I don't know offhand.
Oh, it's no problem. But yeah, that's kind of interesting because so the thinking is it was, some other manufacturer made the chassis and it was just rebadged.
Yeah, made by Mech Industries
Oh,
in
okay.
1946 or 47 was
Oh,
the
okay.
dates that I came up with.
Oh, it's nice. I like it.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, all right. So you're still working on restoring it, Russ, or is it all done, electronics, and it's good to go?
Oh, yeah, it's done. That was a pretty quick fix. Really didn't need too much.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you.
All right, thank
I have a
you.
question for everybody. We also went to the Maritime Museum I guess, in Bath in Maine. And it's a pretty interesting place, but in there they have two radios. One is an AR-88LF from RCA, which is, from what I can read about it, it was made in large numbers right at the end of the war and shipped to Russia and England and other places. And they have one, and I was sort of wondering about the viability of them actually restoring this. I came across maybe one thread where somebody had done that, but is that familiar to anybody?
I'm familiar with the radio. I've never owned one. Not, I've never had one on my bench, but yeah, I've seen them around, and I'm assuming they're just as restorable as any vacuum tube communication receiver of that era. I don't know any reason, why what that level of technology is
Yeah.
not that you know it, it's not that tricky either. So
Unless, my concern was that there was some weird, air variable tuning cap that was an unobtainium that, was wired in someplace weird that couldn't be changed.
you can always run into that in just about anything, but I mean, they're not terribly uncommon receivers, so I would think there must be parts units out there.
Okay. Then the second one, which they put in their little demo of a tugboat place, it's an RCA Radio Marine. I've had a really hard time finding uh, actual name of it. As far as I can tell, it's an ET something something. Very hard to find information about that online. An 8-band transceiver for the day. As far as I can tell, it was like 1952. But I won't have to show a picture on my phone because that's not going to happen anymore. If I can figure out how to circulate a couple of pictures, maybe I'll do that. But yeah, any information about that would be kind of interesting too. What I'm trying to suggest to the museum there is that if they were to engage somebody maybe from their local ham region, there might be people interested in restoring those radios. And if they could put them on the air there, then it will just add to the museum's experience of being able to use them.
There was several years ago, some local hams in that area did a special event from that location, from inside the museum, and I did a little bit of operating because I lived in Maine at the time.
Okay.
But Al Feeder W1 UX I don't know if he does any restoration work anymore. I don't think so because he's been asking me to do it for him in recent years. But anyway, he's aware of the museum and has worked with the museum before.
Okay, that's a good name. I'll maybe follow up with that too.
Yeah.
Great location to put a big antenna up outside.
Yeah, but it was super noisy. It was almost not worth doing. I mean,
Oh, really?
station. Yeah, yeah. We the noise level was well over S9, and we had a really hard time. People were calling us, and we couldn't pull them out of the noise.
Oh, wow, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Was that because of the Bath and Iron Works up the river?
I don't know. It could have just been stuff in the museum too. I
Ah,
never found its source, but I don't think they'd done tried to do any operating from there since.
I see. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Thanks Russ for that sharing. And well, let's see here. Mr. Van Beek, what
Oh,
is going on here? Hi, caught you. Welcome up. Wow, you called me Mr.
must be up to something.
Yeah, that's right. I know. Yeah, I saw you dozing off. No, I'm just kidding. But so what's going on?
Well, I got a few projects that I can show you that I recently finished up through the screen
Super.
sharing.
Hey, tell us a little about Radio Fest.
It was good. Just went on Saturday for the swap meet, but we had beautiful weather this year. It wasn't too hot. It was low 70s and sunny, and the turnout wasn't as big as last year, I don't think, but there were still some decent sets to be found.
I just saw myself. Yeah. Aha.
I show up.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a weird cathedral. I've never heard of this brand before. It's a national
Pain
band.
Pain Fahnenstiel. Oh, good German name.
Yeah.
Fahnenstiel.
Little
Wow.
5 tube. There's no model number, no markings of any kind.
Yeah, Fawn steel is usually associated with phonograph cartridges.
Cartridges, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Interesting.
But this thing, it's just got a 2A7 and a 57, 58, and 59.
Wow,
So we figure it dates to about 1933.
Wow.
wow.
So a rectifier and 4 tubes.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, so yeah, that's right. That's about right for a pre All-American 5 type design.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a nice little mini cathedral. It's only about maybe 12, 13 inches wide and maybe about 14 inches tall. So it doesn't take
Nice.
up a lot of room, but
Yeah. And are we seeing post-restoration results here, Greg? Or is this pre?
actually I bought it pretty much like this at Radio Fest.
Really?
Just to detail the chassis. I knew the guy who had restored it. He actually had to hand draw a schematic for it because he couldn't find one, and he had it all recapped and working and everything.
Wow.
So the 2A7's the converter, the 59 is the output, and what were the other two active tubes? 57?
58, yeah.
50. Okay, so the 58's the IF, the 57 is probably a plate detector, the old plate detector that they'd use in the TRF sets.
That's basically what this is too. There's no
Yeah.
AVC, and I don't think it shows on the other picture here, but the dial scale has it from 0 to 1,000, like they typically did in the early 30s and late
Oh.
20s.
That's better than a volume control that goes to 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Oh, look, I
it's,
mean, even this Dutchin is in great shape. I mean, it's a really nice shape, this radio.
It's a nice
yeah, I
radio.
guess the grill work was kind of busted out, and he fixed that a little bit. But got the original grill cloth.
Oh, neat little radio. And I've first one I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's a one of a kind. It's,
So
how good is that?
is this gonna be a keeper? Oh yeah, nice. Now is this a keeper? You'll be keeping it because you're the only
I've
kid anywhere?
no room for this one. I've actually got it listed already.
Yeah, I read that, uh, and I was, I guess, pretty impressed. But what was of interest was the volume control, how you described it, that it's basically just uh, kills the antenna.
Well, yeah, it's typical of those type of sets. It's connected right to the antenna. So the higher you turn the volume, the stronger the station comes. And then if you go from a weaker station to a local station, you have to be ready to crank the volume down, or it's going to blast you out
Hmm.
of the room.
I would guess that the in a lot of those old TRF sets, they had the pot wired so the the wiper was at ground and
Yeah.
one end would hook up to the antenna circuit to load the antenna circuit, and then the other end of the pot would go to like the cathode of the RF tube. In this case, it probably goes to the cathode of the IF tube to reduce the
Yeah.
gain of the IF stage. So
Mhm.
it would be controlling the gain two ways. It would be actually controlling the bias on like a remote cutoff tube, either in the RF or IF section, and also loading the antenna circuit.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right. I didn't look at it that close, but yeah, I've never heard of that brand. The research they did on it, I think it was made in Waukegan, Illinois. So maybe Jack Benny had something to do with it.
Ah, there you go. Wow. Neat. Really
See
neat.
what I did a little Zenith like this.
Oh yeah. See those from time to time.
Yeah, I think it's a going by memory, it might be a 6D311. I bet you Bob knows the model number by heart.
Come on, Bob, you can do it.
Oh, I forget. It's a five tuber with a ballast tube in it. I know that. I forget the model number.
That's right. Yep. I can't think of the model number either offhand, but
It's actually a
it
very
had
good
a
radio.
cabinet. Yeah, they are nice little radios, and the cabinet design, I forget who it was. Wasn't Lowry, it was some other guy.
I forget. Was it Eames? Eames
Might
Design?
be.
Is
Yeah,
it? I thought they only did wood, but maybe they did. Is that wood or that's plastic,
That's
right?
Bakelite.
Yeah,
Nicolay.
bike light. I mean, but maybe they did. That's a really interesting question. Because the only ones I'm aware of, but I've not done exhaustive research, was the classic, like the Zenith of the wood cabinets, because they were furniture. They focused on furniture making, but who knows? Maybe they did. It is a very tasteful looking design.
That would be very
Mhm.
difficult to do in wood, especially at the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
be
Yeah.
very labor intensive, that's for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't
I
say
had.
impossible, but it would be a very expensive radio if they had done that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Really.
you're right. I had the other version of this. They made one. The sister version had a wave magnet antenna in the back and a handle on top, and it said Zenith wave magnet on the front here. They're a little more scarce, and they're really deep. I mean, the antenna is half the width of the radio.
It actually sticks out the back of it. I've seen them.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It's a gold attachment.
What's
They are
the
rare
badge?
though.
Is the Zenith badge made out of metal?
Yeah, it's a metal badge. It's like anodized or not brass, but it's like plated.
Yeah, plated.
You don't think it's tarnished from the time?
Well, there's a little bit of tarnish on it, I think. It's not painted, that I know.
Yeah, okay.
Zenith used to just take those things, and whether they were really brass or whatever, they would just what they usually did at the factory was just spray some clear lacquer over it so it kept it from tarnishing.
Yeah, that's probably what happened.
A lot of those lacquers are going to
And,
yellow quite a bit over time.
yeah,
So
and it's hard to find them.
Right?
I was going to say it's hard to find them with the original knobs too, because especially these the off-on volume knob. If anybody would go under it with a screwdriver and try and pry them loose, they'll immediately break off the.
I think it'd shatter in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to break off the base. The little, but this one's pretty well attached here.
Yeah.
There's another version. That's that. Then I've got a little finished up a Bendix here. This little AM shortwave
Oh, yeah. Sure.
46. It's got a really pretty gold and green dial on it.
Yeah, I like it.
I used to have
And-
one of them and I rolled it. I should have kept it. It was a nice radio. Is
Yeah,
that
it
is
is.
that the one, Greg? Is that the one with all the Lockvilles in it?
I believe it had all octals, yes.
Okay.
But
Well,
what
you
I
can,
really like,
you can listen to the AM hams and 40 meters on that guy.
yeah,
Yes, you could.
there you go. What I really like about it though is how they have the dial lit. There's actually a little slit in this back plate. So when it lights up, it almost looks, oh, come back here. It almost looks like the Bendix is neon.
Oh, yeah, I like it. Well, it's kind of interesting you say that because I really like that effect. That is cool, by the way.
Yeah.
Cheat and a simple way to do advertisement, right? You're listening on the Bendix.
Yeah.
No,
Uh,
early watches had radium painted on their dials. Did any radios from early eras also use that?
I know some of the military radios, like the R390A, the meters are radioactive. So they used radioactive paint to make them. They didn't glow in the dark, but they would get bright with in very little light.
Yeah, I think that's the same radium paint that was used in the early days of watches that was also responsible for the premature death of many of the women that were painting these things on
Right.
and licking their paintbrushes with radium
Right.
paint.
Yeah.
yeah.
There was a book and then they made a movie and the movie was like really awful because we actually got it on DVD and went to watch it. But the book is called Radium Girls.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
My wife got the book and I read the book. It's actually a really good book.
Yeah.
And it's worth to read if you're a book reader.
That's funny. The question Dominic raised, it occurred to me, the but maybe it's just effect is that some of the German radios, like the Telefunkens, let's say in the early 50s, they had this side lit dial face. It wasn't directly backlit or above lit. And then typically with the light, with the radio off, it was just, standard white paint looking on the dial face that they all did. But when you turn the radio on, it had this nice green glow, which was really attractive. And it begs the question, I wonder if they used something like that paint because they did in the early 50s, and there's a couple in the late 50s, like the Emud did that. One of their 196 juniors had that, which was really cool because I love the glow, the kind of the green glow. But I wondered if that's what they did to get that effect.
I wonder I don't know when they stopped using radium paint in watches because whenever that stopped, I'm sure it stopped everywhere.
I would think so. Yeah, I guess something to look into. But yeah, I like it. I really like the effect there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I have
Okay.
another question for you experts, because this radio goes to 12.5 megahertz. I have never paid attention before to the band that the old shortwave radios actually run to. I think some of them went far beyond, up to much shorter wavelengths than 12 megahertz. Are you guys know about that, whether that's true or?
Well, you're talking consumer sets in general?
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I've seen a lot that go as high as 22 megs, but not too much beyond that
right.
for sets in this era. I'm not saying they don't exist, but I haven't run into too many, if any.
Hmm. And was that because would they have been more from Europe? And is that because the shortwave broadcast band used in Europe was higher?
Well, the Bendix was an American. This is an American set.
No, I know this is, yeah.
Yeah. I can't speak to the European sets because John could. I can't. I don't collect them.
Let's see now. They, of course, I have any in front of me right now, but mo a lot of these had multi shortwave band and covered a wide range. Because in Europe, I mean, even through probably the 50s and 60s, shortwave was still very common, pretty popular. Because as probably most, if not all of TVs and so forth were much slower to took a little bit longer for those to get adopted, and so they relied primarily on shortwave. And and most of in fact, like I said, well, actually, I have one kind of nearby, but they often offered multi-band and was focused only on shortwave. So they, manufacturers make the typical AM, FM, few, couple band shortwave radios, and they made certain ones they call like the Tropic version of the same chassis, but it was almost dedicated fully to shortwave. You had like 5 or 6 bands, and you may have might have AM if you're lucky, but it was dedicated to that. So depending where you live, or if you lived, especially if you live in a more remote area where shortwave was your way to communicate to the world, that's, at least listen to what's going on in the rest of the world, is you'd have that option. So you had in Europe like the wide range. And the American models were focused a lot more on getting some shortwave, because shortwave was out in the United States still, but a lot less common. You had the AM and FM, especially when the mid 50s, FM was trying to get some legs in the United States, and they offered it that way. So they cut back some of the bands in there. I'd have to go look at I have a Telefunken nearby. I have to go look, because I use shortwave so little, it's pretty much, plus also I just play as input through it. So it's sometimes it gets underutilized as a radio, is what the true original intent was.
When I was a kid, my parents had a Grundig console radio. It had a turntable in it.
Sure, sure.
Lots of bands of shortwave, more than I recall, than this as I recall. It also had long wave.
Hmm.
I remember that. I don't remember the frequency range it went down to, but I remember all that being on there. And most of the most of the sort of cities and things were all in Europe.
Yes, exactly. And it's fun to look at the dial face because it's so crowded. It's amazing they got this all nicely done with relief prints. All the cities like Dusseldorf and Berlin and blah blah. It's just why you read it, it's like wow, they really did a great job. But you really have to look at it really carefully, and they're covering the entire European continent.
Yeah.
Fun to look at. Yeah, yeah. Um, Especially if you have a European model, because they also on the US models, they tended to decontent the dial face. You'd have a much cleaner, if you want to call it cleaner, you didn't have all those cities on. You still had some, but it's not nearly as busy as because they knew the US market was a certain targeted market. And like even in the cars at the time, you sort of plan on sending them with more of the features than your strippo ones you may only sell in Europe. And especially the exporters that brought the radios in, they might mandate, you got to give me a radio, even make it for my market, a custom model. I want this for the US market. And they would do that. You'd have a couple,
It's
especially.
actually in Canada where I grew up, and I think they had a different sort of import there as well.
It wouldn't surprise me. I know little about the European, the Canadian versions, because I imagine they probably had similar US capabilities, like the full FM spectrum and so forth, but I don't know much of the differences between, if there were any.
One thing I came across looking at that radio from the museum, the Maritime Museum, was that this bunch of them were made in Montreal.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
yeah.
That little factoid.
At the bottom of the hour, and I couldn't start when you guys were starting, and I don't know how often I'll be able to. I really appreciate being able to join the conversation for a little while, and I'll pick it up again as I'm able to. Thank you for being there, everybody.
Oh yeah, Dominic, glad to have you. Join anytime.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Sure.
Yeah, this one is pretty bare bones when it comes to shortwave, and it has an antenna, a loop antenna, just like the one that ah, his name is escaping me now, but the one that he made the loop antenna for. And you actually have to have a long wire attached to this to get shortwave. The loop antenna
Yeah,
isn't enough to bring
yeah,
it
I
in.
imagine. Or you have to be right on top of the station, like, 5 feet away.
Right, right. So this is my big purchase from Radio Fest. I was really surprised to find this.
Now, is that without any restoration? That's, oh,
The ship.
the Clipper ship.
This is the Melody Cruiser. It's a Majestic from 1940. Uses the
Nice.
same chassis as the Charlie McCarthy radio.
Oh, interesting. I guess that makes
And
sense.
yeah, this is just how I found it. It needs restoration, but I don't think
Wow.
I've ever seen it in person before.
Boy,
That,
they really could have used miniature tubes, couldn't they?
Yeah, they've got that stuffed in there pretty good, don't they?
yeah.
They
Looks
were
like it's
a
looks
little
like
too
it's
early.
wireless.
Yeah.
Well, that's where the ballast comes into play.
Yeah. Front. Here's how it looks from the front.
Oh yeah, that's really cool. It's in pretty solid shape there, Greg, and I know you'll work your magic on this.
Yeah, that's going to be a winter project because I'll have to take all those sails off and
Yeah.
take
Swab
a
the
lot of
deck.
pictures.
Yeah.
Scrub the deck. Yeah,
You're
take a lot
swabbing
of
the deck.
pictures.
I you better do this with a patch on. Eye patch, by the way.
I can find Popeye in there somewhere.
Yeah.
It's
That's
all that I don't know what to call it. I'm not a sailor. The wires going up
The
to all
rigging.
the
rigging.
rigging. That's it.
I'm
The
not a
rigging.
sailor either, but I know that much.
The rigging, is that actually though the loop antenna? I mean, if they is
That's a good question. I would have to investigate that a little further, but maybe it could be rigged up to become the antenna.
might enhance the reception if you
I would think so.
made
Yeah.
that the antenna up there.
interesting.
Because I know the Charlie McCarthy one just has a long wire that you have to string out. So this, maybe if you attach that to the sails, it would really pull in the stations because
Yep.
it is only a 4 tube, I think, maybe 5, if I remember right. Probably just 4 because I don't think could fit 5 in there.
There may be another tube hiding behind one of the others. I don't know.
Yeah, possible. Been a while since I've done a Charlie McCarthy.
Now I wonder how many of these were attempted to be floated in the bathtub with very poor success. Another Titanic episode.
Yeah. I'll get to the front of it. This is a night radio. It's a 1940. It's
Oh,
pretty pedestrian looking. That has a couple of nice features. The dial looks kind of pretty when it's lit up.
ooh, I like it.
It's nice.
Green and blue.
It's really nice. Hey, I like the stations all labeled out that way. That's a nice little touch.
Yeah,
I like it. Wow, how cool.
it's a kind of a sleeper because it doesn't look like it would do much when it lit up, but because it's just a plain gold dial.
Oh yeah, I see your point. Is this already on your for out for sale? Did you decide, yeah, can I keep this
I've
one?
got it on there for sale, but what's unique about it is it has motorized tuning
Hmm.
for a little table.
Ah,
You loosen those thumb screws up, and then there's a little you slide them around to where the opening is, and that's where you set your station. There's a diagram. I found the original
How
instruction.
cool. Wow. You're right, it is a sleeper.
Yeah,
All these little pack full of cool features.
I was surprised it still works.
Oh, I
It's
like
not a
it.
very big radio. It's usually that was reserved for more expensive models. This is not much known about. It was a Knight brand, which later became, I think, Radio Shack's brand.
Yeah, it did.
But this is just a Model 6B. I think they use that chassis in
It became an Allied brand first, Allied Radio, and then Allied bought Radio Shack when it became Tandy Corporation.
Oh.
Or Tandy bought Radio Shack and Allied. I don't know exactly how that worked out.
Mhm. Yeah, that was kind of interesting. Let's see. I did up an airline like this. The cabin was kind of busted up. Had to paint it, so took a little liberty on that one.
Well, that's classic 50s color combination, Greg.
From the 30s, 1939,
Oh,
actually.
the 39. Oh, right, right. Yeah, you're right. It looks, for some reason, it looks fresher than that. Yeah, you're good point.
Yeah, they were all that natural marble finish, and so it had to be painted anyway. So I figured, well, try something different.
Hey, it's cool. And I like those airlines. They're pretty cool. You know, I love the rotary dial and the I-tube. I think it's pretty
The
slick.
Tornado speedometer dial.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah.
That's really cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah, they're neat little radios. I think that one I showed you last time. So that's it as far as pictures go. Figure out where the unsharing button is.
Oh, I can.
No, that's not good.
I should be able to unshare for you if you like. All right, you're
There,
kicked off. Boom, gone.
Boom.
I thought it's terrific, Greg. Some cool stuff. Great work as always. I'm impressed by that night. That really, I don't know a lot about him. It's like the real sleeper.
Hmm. Yeah, usually they got mechanical push buttons or yeah, usually not anything electric.
Yeah. So Noah, what's going on?
Let's see. Still in recovery mode, kind of from my trek northward up into Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and I went to the 100th anniversary Chrysler celebration at Carlisle earlier in July, and turned into whatever a 2 week or so trip. So, haven't been doing an awful lot with projects, except that I had an acquisition and an electronics question for the group. I don't know if I know how to do this with a share. I'm going to share something here. I'm going to attempt anyway. Select a window. I'm going to select this window and say share. That's showing up.
Not yet, but it's there you go.
Now it is.
There it is.
Okay, so I have to be a little bit of a grumpy old man. So this dashboard is from a sort of generic, it's from a modern like 2006 or whatever Dodge Magnum.
Okay.
And the Dodge Magnums and the Dodge Chargers and the Chrysler 300s of this era basically share the electroluminescence feature that is on my 1961 Chrysler that came out in 1960.
Oh, how cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, except that just like my headboard, which is from 1962, and my car that's from 1961, that electroluminescence is 65 years old and still working. And the electroluminescence on the 2006 Dodge Magnum shit the bed already.
Oh, jeez.
See, that's the old cheapening the product.
Exactly.
Planned obsolescence.
And basically, the part that's electroluminescent is the face, sort of like the backlight, this white part of the dials.
Ah.
So the needles are fine. And when it's actually in a car and the car is running, there's all kinds of, odometer and warning
Right.
lights and temperature
Did
for the
right.
outside, all that information that's all like little LEDs or whatever they are. I don't know what they are, LCDs. Those all work fine. It's this white area that no longer glows in the nighttime when you have your headlights on. So you basically can't see how fast you're going or how much gasoline you have left or whether you're overheating when you're driving in the dark.
Mm.
So apparently it's a known problem. And this company put together this kit on repairing Dodge Magnum dash lights. And it's like 45 or $50. And it's all this muckety thing that you can't really tell what it really is. And they give you all these instructions about, step one, remove the instrument cluster. Step two, take the back off the instrument cluster. Step three, it says, there's two little wires here in a little
Mm.
socket.
Yeah.
It says disconnect the flexible conductive rubber band of the electroluminescent foil from the black socket. You unplug it. And
Okay.
then they give you this $45 or $50 thing with, I don't know what it is, 6, 7, 8 different wires. And they tell you after you go and you have to pull all these dial faces off and you got to get to this where this transformer was. And you have to take out this transformer. And then they give you the instructions of where to hook up all these wires, including some pretty funky places where you have to wire on to some very tiny semiconductor places and to the sides of cans. And it's like
Wow.
really, really annoying to go through all of this. And it's like, well, I have 61 and 62 Chrysler electroluminescent power packs that basically have 12 volts DC coming in one side and the electroluminescent, it's basically an inverter. It comes out around 200 volts AC at like 400 hertz on the other side. And it's like, well, if I just unplug these wires that supposedly go to the electroluminescence and run a pair of wires down to one of my good old 1960 power packs that I have spares of, maybe I don't have to go through all that nonsense and I can just power up that electroluminescence backlight with my 1960s technology that I know works for 60 plus years instead of spending $50. And I'm not so sure that I really trust myself to make some of these connections.
It is elaborate, it seems.
Some of them are like, there's like a 40-minute video that you can actually watch that shows this guy first he's using a solder sucker, and then he's using a solder wick, and then he's using a pair of needle nose dikes to get in there. And it's like, I mean, it's a nightmare. And then he's smearing soldering paste all over the place to try to get the soldering tip to get down there with the little tinned wire to put on all these little tiny places. And it's like, if this is just two wires up here that actually backlight the display, what do I need to go through that for? Just like try one of my own power packs to put on here. Now, I haven't been able to actually find like a schematic for this to verify for certain that that's all these two things are going and that's all I have to power up to make this glow. But I think that's all I have to do.
Interesting.
So, and I did find out that the specs on this power supply, it puts out something like 145 volts, whereas my 1960s technology can put out as much as like 220. But
Maybe you could step down.
well, it's all derived from the 12 volts that goes in. So if you just put from the dimmer switch on the dashboard, if you don't put in 12 volts, you don't get 200.
Right.
Now it's actually more like 13, 14 volts before you get the full 200. So I'm thinking of doing this, and I just figured I would run it past this very intelligent electronics oriented group to see if my logic makes any sense or if I'm in danger of blowing something else up. Because I also don't want to notice step 3 is remove the gauge needles
with a fork.
without snapping them off.
Well, at least the fork is clean. I didn't see like bits
and then
of
getting them
on
back
it.
on in the right orientation, and then hiding this weird little potted mess of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think there might be a total of 8. It's like, well, no, J1 through J6. And some of these are pretty easy over here, but then some of these other things where looks like you're trying to tack something onto the end of a semiconductor or part of a circuit trace where you got to scrape something away because there really isn't a contact point. And I'm like, man, that sounds like an awful.
Yeah, it
hard-
doesn't.
Well, you've got that little nifty soldering gun that you bought where you
Oh
can,
yeah, I could make a real mess of things with
There
that.
you go.
Or I could just unplug that connector, and I got a goes into and a goes out of that. I know where they connect up to my power packs that I already own, and just put that down underneath the dashboard somewhere and just run to that.
Well, my question is, what causes them to go dim? Is it the electroluminescent display itself that wears out?
No, it's the power supply
power supply. Okay.
it's no longer putting out the 140 volts. And they say, and I don't know whether they really know what they're talking about here, but apparently they seem to. What they say somewhere else is the problem is the transformer that's on the other side of these 8 pins that causes the problem. And so you remove the transformer, and then you buy this kit that has this potted thing with all these wires, and then you remove that transformer from those 8 holes, and then you take these 6 wires and you use 2 of them, and then you use another one here and then some others down here. So it's basically an alternate power supply that
Okay.
that drives it.
The failure, does it gradually fade out over time, or is it like it's working full tilt boogie one day and the next day it's black?
It gradually fades away until it stops working.
I can't think of any transformer failure that it would act like that.
I know, I can't either. Well, I think that's what it does, but I don't know. On the car, when I got the car, it was already gone. So I don't know whether it could just go out. I don't really know.
I had something like this years ago on a 98 Buick Regal, and it was you were the gauges, not the gauges. It wasn't the light up stuff, but it was I guess the messages it gave. And the gear was, back when Radio Shack was around, was you replace like 8 of the resistors and it came right back.
Yep.
So that's good old 20-year-old technology.
Yep.
Broken.
So see, this board is the electroluminescent inverter driver, part number ELD-M. And it's like, well, I already have an electroluminescent inverter driver. I've got a half a dozen of them that I've collected from parts cars over the years. So I already have a source of the AC 100+ volt signal that theoretically I could just connect right up to the display right there with those 2 wires and not mess with this kit or any of that soldering nonsense.
Just to figure out which wire is what.
Well, it's just those 2.
Yeah.
So, and
you
it's
get a 50-50 chance.
right.
Do they, I'll throw this out there but of course this may be just solving, delaying the problem and having it show up later can you get, clusters like that, replacement clusters like that?
You can, but they're like a couple $100. Well, plus that the Dodge Magnum, this is the generic kind of Dodge Magnum.
Yeah.
I've been looking for another Dodge Magnum ever since I took my old Dodge Magnum and turned it into a Chrysler 300 station wagon.
We said that was cool. Yeah.
Which was cool. And I was thinking maybe I would do that again down here since I know how, but I couldn't find like a 5.7 Hemi Dodge Magnum station wagon. There were either some down here that were like,
The
I
2.7s.
want to say kids got a hold of them and like, did window tints and lowered suspensions and goofy wheels and stupid exhaust systems and all that. Or there are adult unmolested ones down here that have like 315,000 miles on them because it's Texas, so
Right.
they're all rust free and perfect bodies and undercarriages, but they got a gazillion miles on them.
Right.
And I happened to stumble upon a Dodge Magnum SRT8,
Mm.
which is the 425 horsepower 6.1 Hemi one at a very good price, and it was adult owned and hadn't been mucked around with like the kid stuff. And because it was adult owned, it was, someone closer to my age who like was advertising it on Craigslist instead of Facebook Marketplace. So nobody was calling on it because like no one buys off of Craigslist anymore, except I guess fellow old people or something. But anyhow, I stumbled upon it. Long story short, it was a great deal, and it was like 100,000 miles instead of 300,000 miles.
Right.
So I went for it. But this is the one main problem that the car has is it'd be really hard to drive it at night.
Right.
And so,
well, you could wear a little headlight
well,
lamp.
I already bought the little LED lights that I could just go, stick on the instrument cluster, and just when I'm driving at night, I can just go click and turn it on, but
Yeah, but that's kind of
that's pretty hokey.
yeah, and it takes away from the desirable electroluminescent
Right.
experience.
And if you don't want to use the fork, you can actually buy this plastic pry bar, or use a dinner fork.
Right.
But I don't even want to mess with the gauges. I don't want to be
Yeah.
snapping needles off and
Yeah.
putting them back on the wrong way, and
Right. Or you break
having
a
them
needle
not.
and you have to use like a I don't know, a little straw.
Well, yeah, or or now the speedometer is like incorrect, or the tachometer is not right, or the gas gauge isn't right because I didn't get it on there in the correct orientation. So that's all covered in the 40-minute video about putting little pieces of painter's tape underneath each of the needles and drawing with your little Sharpie where the needle was pointing as before you pry them off and all this other crap.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why don't I just use my own inverter? So does that sound like, I was thinking of going, they have local pull your own parts junkyards around here.
Mhm.
So I was thinking maybe what I would do is go to the junkyard and take one of those instrument clusters out
Yeah.
and then do an
To try it.
experiment on the bench.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Before you toast out with this,
yeah, if
original.
the screen, if this stuff all like bursts into flames or something, and
It's like headlights. I
yeah,
can't
but
see.
well, no, obviously I also have extra light switches and dimmer switches, so I would run the power pack. I'd run the 12 volts through that dimmer switch like I do on my headboard,
Right.
and just
Yep.
slowly bring it up. And I'm assuming I'm not going to have to crank it up as much if this is fully illuminated at 140 volts. I won't turn it up to 200. I'll just, or the 200 is actually when it's on the bench unloaded. So maybe when it's actually loaded, it's not putting out 200 or 210. Maybe it does come down to 140 or 150. I have no idea. But
I mean, in theory, would you have space to be able to fit, a probably a much bigger piece, object from your.
I mean, it's only about an inch and a half by 3 inches. I would
Oh,
definitely I'd have a place to just tuck it up under the
oh, you
dash.
would. Okay.
And so I'm not concerned with that as much as I am. It's like, am I going to blow up the rest of the dashboard assembly and all these other electronics that are on here?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but theoretically, I'm going to be, I mean, look at this mess. It's a nightmare. Look at all the
Yeah.
stuff that's on here. I'm more leery of how much of this am I going to destroy while trying to
Right.
Solder it.
use my ham-handed fingers trying to solder onto little places around here,
Yeah.
as opposed to just unplugging these cables, and I'm not touching this board at all in any way, shape, or form. I'm just applying 100 and something volts across these two wires to make that backlit area glow. And I can do that on a bench.
Are you sure it's across those two wires, though? Is there maybe a common ground and
Well, it says disconnect the flexible conductive rubber band of the electroluminescent foil from the black socket, and the black socket just has two wires going to it.
yeah, there could be a common ground, right? And those could both be power, or one could be power, and so one could be something else.
I don't know. Because
Yeah,
I can't find a
that's the thing. I
schematic.
don't either, but
Yeah.
I'm saying it's a possibility.
Yep. But it's AC and it's electroluminescence. It's just a foil. The way the electroluminescence works is it's just layers of different material between two wires that get excited with an AC voltage that makes them illuminate.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
So I don't know.
That's
What could possibly go wrong is what
right.
Well, that's one of the things that could possibly go wrong.
Yep.
I can guarantee if I were to try it, first of all, I wouldn't try it, but if I were to attempt it, I'd botch it up for sure because I'm a real klutz with this kind of technology.
Yep.
Someone melts into a pile of plastic.
That's why
a pile of plastic.
That's why we do
one of
old
the reasons I
radios with
stick to
point-to-point
tubes.
wiring. It's exactly this is. Yeah, as complicated as I ever want to get is a Philco predictor.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so that's what I've been contemplating and doing research on and everything. So that's what I've been.
That's cool. That's
trying to
that's an interesting project.
Yeah. Or my other thought was remove the instrument cluster, buy this, and then like send it to one of you guys who's really good at soldering. And say, here, install this for me and ship it back.
Well, I think John could do it. If he could build that
Oh,
Mercedes.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. I think I'd have to like jump out a window.
I'm the last guy you'd want to send it to.
Because
It's an interesting project. It's a little bit like, like, oh my God, you're really telling me that why don't you just make, a you almost feel like you want that the replacement, the whole thing, replacement module with a fixed array and just buy it for the $200 or $300, be done with it.
Right.
Because
that's the other approach, just throw money at it. But I'm intrigued with just unplug this and hook up one of my old 1960s power supplies to it, because that's all it is an inverter. It takes 12 volts in.
Yeah, but I would think that the electroluminescent draws very, very little current. So if you're going to try that, put a sizable resistor in series, like 100K to start with, and see if it starts glowing. Because then if something goes wrong, there's not enough current to start a fire.
Right.
Maybe it won't toast anything that way.
Yeah.
I would definitely I would go to the junker, get yourself a backup the one to conduct the experiments on.
Yeah, see if you can light it up. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure I could light it up one way.
What's this pool of plastic? Metal
Well, who knows? Maybe a nice soft flame would look pretty good.
Yeah, for at least a few seconds or so. It's like poof.
Speaking of that,
oh, before I forget, that's right. So when you're talking about Larry, when you're talking about this, little workshop thing, right? One of the first questions will be, so what do I do after I let the smoke out? Like that's, that'll be the first question. But then somebody else mentioned,
put it back in.
Somebody else mentioned something about vacuum tubes and wanting, investigating a tube tester. One of the other clubs, I can't remember which one, because I'm, thanks to the internet, I'm in a few different clubs. When they have their get-togethers, they have a member who brings a tube tester, and like during the event, if you're working on a radio and you want to just bring the tubes out of your radio, you can't bring your collection of 400 tubes, in a big wheelbarrow or something. But if you're working on a 5, 6, 7 tube radio and you don't own a tube tester, someone kind of mans a little station during the course of the show or the event where you could come over and and test some tubes like it was the drugstore thing, where you can go
Mm.
over and test the tubes. That might be, now that I'm not back there with you guys anymore to actually volunteer to be the guy who does it, I could suggest that from
Well,
Yeah,
far.
well, that's a good point. I thought about bringing my tube tester and I'm making a list and I forgot to put it on it. But I'll definitely be bringing that. And I also am going to be bringing a signal tracer. Is also something I forgot about that would be handy to have.
But it might be, or maybe one of the younger members or something, or someone that we're trying to get more involved and more interested in that stuff might, be Mr. Tube Checker, just
Yeah.
with a little training, to turn the little dial and set the switches the right way. Or if it's one of those not so intelligent tube testers that's just, red, yellow, green, basically a filament checker. We're not looking to actually measure the transconductance, the G sub M, to match audio output stages or anything. Just we can check your tubes for you while you're at the show. If limit, put a limit, 10 per customer or something, or something like that. And
with this clinic, this repair clinic we're going to do with the Fall Brook line. No, what you can do is you can mail that to me and I'll stand online. Larry and Jen, so what do we do here?
right, exactly. All right, that's all I had. Sorry it took so long.
No, that's all right. It's a really interesting project and some interesting thoughts, especially I think it'd be really interesting if you actually were to able to get one of your older 60s uh, part to work here.
Yeah, obviously, this is a relatively common or at least well-known problem, because why else would someone have gone through all this and developed this
Oh my God, yeah.
this inverter and put all these instructions on here if it wasn't happening to an awful lot of these cars out in the marketplace?
But on the flip side is unless you're, have got that skill set, you're going to look at this and basically, put in the LED lamps on your
Right. Well, because the other
bezel.
thing is this is the generic Dodge Magnum dashboard that the speedometer goes up to 140. On the SRT 8, it goes up to 180.
Ah, right.
So you can't just go to the junkyard and find a Dodge
Yeah.
Magnum SRT 8 instrument cluster. And eventually, if they're all going to do this anyway, you're going through all the hassle of getting this out and putting in the new one. And then maybe 6 to 8 months later, it's going to go and not light
Yeah,
up anymore.
exactly. Exactly.
One question I have is I'm not understanding why you'd have to take the needles off when everything's done from the back.
I guess I'm trying to think. And when you watch the video, it makes more sense because you have to, in order to make some of these soldered connections or something.
Yeah,
It's like, I don't know.
maybe it's a double-sided board.
Yeah, something. I don't know. It
yeah.
made sense and was even more scary as to why you had to do that. Well, because this is when you take the quote unquote back off, this is what you see. So you take the back off and then you disconnect these two wires. And here is the component that they want you to remove with its 8 legs. But you can see the component. And so the reason why you have to take these off is because they want you to desolder it from this side and make the other connections to these other places on that part of the board, which is behind the needles.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So the whole thing's a nightmare. And it's like,
Yes. Yes, indeed.
and they didn't make very many of the SRT 8s. So I
No,
don't know
you don't
if
see them very often.
Yeah. So anyhow, enough.
Well, cool.
Anybody wants to volunteer on, practicing their soldering skills, just private message me and I'll be happy to show it to you. But I don't want to do it.
I think you need some re-ohming. Send it to Tom Pereira.
No, that's a capital idea.
I'm re-own that cluster.
Yeah.
So let's, maybe it's maybe a bit distorted and malformed afterwards, but that's okay. You can get in there.
Maybe, I don't know if it'll happen before the next meeting that we have, but maybe one of our future meetings, I'll be demonstrating the glowing instrument cluster being powered by one of my old power supplies.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. But oh, we just lost Isaiah. I would have called on him, but I'm not sure if he was in position to talk. He types and throws his thoughts that way.
Yeah, I got to run too, John, but thanks a lot for holding it and
Oh, my
great seeing
pleasure.
everybody and everybody's projects and everything. So till next time, take care.
Yeah, thank you, Larry.
You
Well-
skipped me too. I had something I wanted to show Noah actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bob. I was just about to hand over
We
to
can
you.
save it for the next time around. if you
No,
want.
no, it's all right. If you guys don't mind going over a little bit, go on ahead.
'Cause, I know Noah's a big. Can I get I'll hit share and see if it works.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Do this. Is that up on the screen?
Not yet. Nope.
Yeah. Oh, let me try this.
We're still there.
Hold on a second. Did I do something wrong here? Oh, maybe hit that.
There we go.
Here we
Something's
go.
being. Oh!
All right. Now this is. I went to a car show Saturday. My wife. About 55 cars showed up, and I found this, and I thought Noah right away. So let me just. I actually have this on my YouTube page, but I'm not going to do like a 10-minute video. So let me just hit play button, and then you could see this car.
Like a 61 Newport or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So apparently, this was a movie car.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
Holy
Brooke
crap.
Shields. Oh, yeah.
Oh, New Yorker.
Oh, geez.
Oh, yeah. Now, if you want one of these, I know where there is one. It's selling cheap. A buddy of mine has one of these in Massachusetts, and it's $6,000.
Wow. Hey, I mean that
I
this
think
panel
you'd
is
like that.
the
Oh,
instrument.
wait a minute. Let me kill that.
Yep.
Hold on.
And you notice because of the fact they had to do it on the station wagons in 1961, they kept the front end looking the same with those canted quad headlights, but in the back of a 61 sedan or convertible or a coupe, they moved the taillights down by the rear bumper
Right.
and out of the fins, but that doesn't work on a station wagon because there's no room down the bottom.
Yeah.
So a 61 wagon or hearse or ambulance or anything like that actually uses 60 taillights.
Taillights. A little factoid.
They leave the 60 taillights up in
I
the
was
fins.
wondering about that. That's why I wanted you to see it.
Yep.
See?
Yep.
Interesting.
So it's a 61. If it was any other version of the 61, the taillights wouldn't be up in the fins because that was a 60 feature, but they moved them down in 61, but they couldn't on a station wagon. So they went with a 60.
So on your
Interesting.
I like the sticker in the back that says putting the fun back in funeral.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if you caught
Which-
that.
yeah. And
Yeah.
actually, with that dashboard alone, that's worth. I say there's some fun there.
Yep,
Yeah.
That was a cool ride.
definitely.
So on your 61, Noah, the backup lights are now in the fins instead of the
Right.
tail lights.
Yeah, the backup lights went up into the fins and the taillights went down just above the bumper.
Right.
So there was room to leave to put backup lights down low,
Yeah.
but there wasn't room. The taillights in 61 kind of wrap around
Yeah.
above, just above the bumper, and that would interfere with the tailgate. And
Right.
so they left the back end as a 60.
Interesting. So I'll leave it up to you guys. I can show the pride, like I got the job done. If anyone wants to, I can.
Oh, I
about a
gotta
handful of
see
Oh
it.
yeah, let's see it.
How to see
You
it.
gotta see it.
Let's see
Yeah.
it.
All right, I'm gonna share, and
And you live to tell about it.
Yeah, no, I am.
Ooh.
Ooh. So here,
Wow.
yeah, fortunately, fortunately, I didn't have to paint it. They did a good job in the paint. They did a really
Yeah.
good job in the paint. But everything else, I mean, all these crazy. I mean, can you believe like this driver's mirror right here is three parts, you know?
Oh,
So it's like, I have to put the mirror film on the thing, and also this connects in the mounting post that you have to join the mirror to that,
Yeah, the
and it's
stock.
the tricky. Yeah, I had to glue it in because it actually didn't hold because they show you that they do it in a way you shouldn't need to glue, but don't trust that. But at any rate, let's see. Let me just forward some pictures. So
What
I don't have many.
what
Um,
kind of glue?
I ended up using Gorilla Glue, the super glue, because it's a good viscosity. It's easy to work with. Plus, yeah, you know, what I did is I would typically when I glued something, I didn't go directly. I would put the glue. What I used is a contact lens case, which is plastic and has the cap, and it's pretty shallow. So I can put some glue in there and cap it because I don't need all of that glue. And I bought these 1 millimeter cotton swabs. You can get them like for like modeling and detail things. Only 1 millimeter, so you can just put a dab on it, put it in, and you make no mess.
Wow.
And so all these things that had to come into play, but everything you see. So here's a side thing. And I'm pretty happy with the
If you
results.
didn't know better, it would look like it was just like one big giant, like a die cast or something,
Yeah, exactly. Not over 900 parts of fun. Here, everything works. Well, as works as they can be. All the doors hold open. All these hinges had to be installed and built. You actually have to build this hinge. None of this is comes for free.
Wow.
So there are tiny little screws and parts of these. And when you lift the door, I know you can see there's a little latch, the real thing. There's actually spring load. There's a little spring in there. I can actually pull the latch out and use that to lift the door up. It's like, whew. Um, um, it was only, here's the motor. It was a little bit the nightmarish thing is running all these line the throttle line is right
Oh yeah.
here and it goes to the fuel injection not surprisingly. But all of like I'd have run these wires have to be put on these little plastic clips. You have to take the clip out, run the wire, and how many times one clip fell off and fell off into the engine. And I have to lift this car and turn it upside down. This is 15 pounds. It's not that easy to turn. It's very awkward. You're afraid to, slip or anything. But I finally got everything in. So this is all these wires and hoses and everything else, all has to be installed. So, and everything's going to the firewall. That's the last piece. And the interior in that classic German plaid. You have to actually install the seat material. Fortunately, it's one piece and use double stick tape, so it's not as awful as it seems in terms of a nightmare. The only
You didn't have to sew it.
I was gonna
Oh
say
my
you didn't
God.
switch
Oh
it.
my God. I've never sewed in my life, and I'm about to start now. Um, and well, the only tricky thing is they don't tell you which one's which. You have to figure it out because both seats are subtly different in shape. So
Mm.
to try to get the right, I figured it out, but it took a little bit,
Yeah, it looks like I could see like the bolster, the right side bolster on the driver's seat versus the
Exactly.
right side on the passenger
Exactly.
seat.
You have to look careful because it looks like it would like even this you say, oh, this will fit. This looks just right too. It's subtle. Um, Another front end photo. There's the other side where the exhaust comes out the nice headers, so those chrome pipes. Um, um, and the back, no closer back, rear completely. The biggest nightmare in here is supposed to be two spare tires. Okay, they mount on posts. There's a frame, a subframe that mounts to the uh, tubular chassis. I think I would claim that they made a scaling issue, a mistake on the tires because I did everything I could to get, I couldn't get, when I got the body mounts on the chassis, I couldn't get the trunk to close completely. by just a little bit. It'd be like 2 or 3 millimeters, like 2 or 3 millimeters.
You're supposed to deflate the tires.
If only, yeah. Oh my God. Well, what I ended up doing is the corrective action when they got it on there, I said, "Oh, okay." There's a support rod. It's a hinged support rod that holds the trunk up. It's just one piece that mounts um it mounts right dead center on the body and just connects right underneath the Mercedes star. So I said, fine, I'll take it off. And sure enough, I took because what's happening is there's a little head on there and it was interfering with the two tires. It couldn't clear the tires because the tires are like this against each other. They sit at an angle because you can see they would sit in the right against the fender wells and they set up a slight angle. And there was just not enough space. So I said, fine, okay, I'll have to just take it off and just, you won't be able to keep the trunk open. You can lift it to look. Okay, that seemed like the solution. So it looked like I was, made in the shade. When the very last step you do is you put on all the under trays. That car was completely flush. There was no exposed chassis on it because again, the Germans, even then back in racing, knew to say no exposed chassis, to cause turbulence.
Right. Well,
So everything
just like the French, the Citroens.
exactly. So the rear, the underneath panel, the tire sat just low enough to get them to fit. I couldn't get the rear under tray to cover up, so it'd be hanging from below. So either way, it was screwed. Either the trunk sat up, or it's the under tray was sitting not fully attached, and that was nightmarish in itself because there are multiple pieces, not one under tray. It's multiple pieces you connect. So I thought, okay, what am I going to do? And I said, you know what? There's no way I think I can get this to work completely so I can have a clean looking design, setup. So I pulled the tires, I pulled the spares. I told my uncle, my cousin, I said, I'm sorry. I think the tires are too big. I can't get this to fit. And I'd rather have, you're going to display this with, as you see, as I'm showing here. You're going to lift that trunk once in a great while, take a peek. You can keep it open. So you're missing the spare tires. I gave them the spares. They're there. But I think it's a mistake because I don't know how else you can do it. There's some secret then that they didn't share, and I couldn't get it to do. And I was
There's
pretty
no
much,
YouTube about it.
but just me going.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was the only thing I would blame them because I tried every way I could. I spent hours trying to get this to go, and I said, okay, I've hit the law of diminishing returns. I think this is not meant to be. So that's the only thing. But on the flip side, you can see all the hose, all the fuel lines, and you can see from running from the tank because the fuel tank, literally the fuel tank was molded in that car, and the tires were flat against the inner parts of the fenders and sitting as low as they could and there's just can't get that to all fit together. So that's the only problem I ran into I could not overcome. And here's the interior and a different look of the dashboard. You can see the nice uh even the shift knob leaves first and second gear in the gate. I can't get it. They didn't give any spring loading to let me go to the other slots, but that's the last, yeah, you can see. So there's two posts. You can't see it very well, but here, I'll try to, whoops. Ugh, sorry, I'm fat fingering this. See if I
Oh,
can.
yeah.
Right here, there's a post here and there's another post there. This is where the fuel tank is. So these tires are sitting right up there. The tires will go sit on the post. You screw it on, and then the thing is sitting in there. And I was like, you can see there's so little space to work with. And look at the size. These are the same size. And trying to get two of those in there is
Yeah.
tight. It is tight. So that's the only thing that I could say was the only problem I could not overcome. But at the end of the day, there we go. Well, so it has been delivered, and my cousin is happy. He's perfectly fine with keeping the spare tires out, and I'm sure I'll put it somewhere in his house.
How many hours did you put into that, John?
I would bet you if
Estimated.
I I'm gonna guess. I'm sure if I were to make it turn into like time span, I'm sure I spent a good. I wouldn't surprise if I spent close to 30 days on this of like if I were to just block out a calendar and just,
Wow.
because it's just, I mean, I spent hours or days probably just doing those spokes, putting 432 spokes on across, because each of those have six banks. And the first one was a bitch because that's the one you have to figure out how to do. Because once you understand how it works, it took me 3 times to get that done. So I must have spent probably a day or two, just, a couple of days just getting the first one done. And then I said, they're wrong. Their videos are just too unclear. And I said, okay, I'm going to do it intuitively. What makes the most sense here? And so I had to take that approach. So, you know what? I'm glad I did it. It was a patience tester, I'll tell you that. There were some times I just wanted to, uh, scream or just walk away for a week. But you know what? It uh, is something that few people will get to do. So I looked and say, you know what? It stretched every technique I knew how to build this thing, and so I feel like an accomplishment.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So now I have to actually, I see if I can translate to something like, go back to the regular schedule program, like, try and get back to Telefunk at HR 3000 and see what I can do on that. Because I'll have plenty of things to talk to you guys about that once I open up the hood. So I don't know when I'll get to that, but I probably will get to it maybe next month, because I don't know if I'll have much time this month. But
No,
anyway.
no, John, after a project like that, I would think an electroluminescent dashboard would be a
Yeah,
walk
no
in the
kidding.
That's
Yeah,
the
that should be a walk in the park.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Now, how many to get the spokes right? Did you use a dinner fork or did you use a
I have one of these sledgehammers.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Tire iron,
Well,
something,
you know what I had to use?
crowbar.
I used those blunt needle nose. I do use a lot of that because the really needle nose ones are they're too far away, and you need a little more closer proximity to the wheel. So I was using the blunt pliers, the more, with the shorter head, and they were good for like, it's two banks of those spokes, by the way. You got to, when you're putting them on, you got to loop them onto the inside of the wheel with the wheel already attached. You can't see. You have to feel where the channel is. You can get a sense of where it is. You can see the little marks on the wheel because that's where the spoke would have been. They have these little dips. You have to just find it, and then you know and I think I've got like pliers wrist or something, because it was like a lot of
Purple tunnel.
yeah. But anyway.
I'm assuming there was no coffee involved while you were
Oh, well, there was, well, to some degree. Coffee is still a part of the overall, but you have to you have to have the right amount. You can't,
right. Right.
but yeah. So anyway, it's
Good job.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you. I'd love to do it despite some of the challenges. It was very interesting. You get to, the really sad thing is when you button up you can't see all that handiwork of like the space frame and all the chassis components and all that stuff gets buttoned up. You can't see all of the transmission lines, all the gas, fuel lines, oil lines, all that stuff. You just disappears. And all you have is the engine bay to see some of it, but you get to see how the car was really constructed. So. I learned something, I guess. Well, boys, I ran
Right.
you guys 20 minutes over. It was a pleasure as always having you. And hope you guys enjoy the next couple of weeks. And we'll probably be back to some Brookline photos and whatever else is next, on the thing. So great seeing you guys. Thoroughly enjoyed our meeting. And Noah, we'll look forward to further tales of the Magnum cluster.
Exactly.
May it not be a
Stay tuned for
cluster
the next
blank.
episode of Clusters Are Us.
Hopefully, it won't turn into a cluster.
I was going to
blank.
say it's going to become it's very easily could be a
Coming in
cluster
your
of a
station,
different
in
type.
your area.
Especially if the kitty gets in the way.
Yeah. But all right, guys.
Don't look at it as a dash cluster. Like 4 or 5 years ago, my flat screen went kaput, I went out and bought $30 worth of capacitors, slapped them in there, and the thing came back to life, and it lasted another 2.5 years.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
just think of it as an old TV or something. Don't look at it as a dash cluster.
I've got 7 of those dumb TVs. Well, 2 of them are smart TVs actually, and the other 5 are dumb TVs because I used to just in the town I used to live in, whenever there was a glitch, a storm or power would go out temporarily, the next week on trash day, there were all these 48 and 52 and 55-inch things out on the side of the road.
Yeah,
The power supplies would die, and it was just the electrolytics. And that, if they had if something was supposed to be 32 volts, they put a 35-volt electrolytic in there, and you open it up, you see they're all swollen up, and the tops are bulging. And with Joe Coco, it was like $5 worth of capacitors. It wasn't $25 worth of capacitors, but the silly things got so cheap after a while that
yeah.
it wasn't even worth. And it had to be like, okay, I'll bring home a 60. If I find like a 55 or a 60, maybe I'll bring one of those home. But I'm not bringing home any 42.
Next time you're in Jersey, come visit me, because in the town that I live in, there's an electronics dumpster. And all it has to do is sit out there for a week, and I guarantee you can find at least 5 flat screens after a week.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
I don't know where these people find the money to buy these things. It's just these things are getting crazy.
Well, they're not that well, unless you.
Well, I mean,
you
the
want them.
40-inch are like pretty cheap these days. You can get it for a few $100. You get a pretty decent.
There's 4K 65-inch TV sets in Walmart for like $329. I mean, it's crazy.
They're not very good though.
No. Well, neither are my eyes.
I usually wait till like Christmas time to buy TVs, because then they go really cheap. And they want to get rid of like the year before ones. So I bought a Samsung 2 years ago, and it should go for another 10, 15 years yet, the way we watch TV here.
I got so many old TVs that my eyes are basically 525i.
Well, I have these Sony Bravia LCD flat screens I bought in the like 2006, 5, 6. These things, you can't kill them. I had one go. Funny enough, I was so surprised. The other, they have good picture. Yes, the LED pictures are no question nicer. They're better, no question about it. But these are still good pictures, and I hate to get rid of it because it still works fine.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just
hold on to it until it craps out.
Yeah, I kind of like that. And it's like what I'm doing is we are going to get probably for Chris, we're probably going to get ourselves a bigger screen for our quote family room, TV viewing room. And I'm just going to move one of the nicer TVs swap it into our bedroom and move. And it's sort of like the next bigger TV goes in the bedroom. The bedroom TV is going to go down to my office, and my office TV. Well, okay, but it's only like 24 inches, so I've
got 48 inches in the garage, just to,
I'm just going to do
that's what instant replay was built for. You're working away on something, the roar of the crowd comes up, and then you look up and you see 5 or 6 replays of the football game or whatever.
Yeah, for me, it's a background.
And then you go back to work,
Exactly.
It's more important to make sure that it's at least 120 hertz refresh rate, or higher, so that you don't get the weird streakiness that
right.
Like this. Look at my hand on this thing. It's like,
you're right.
Yeah.
But
all right,
boys. I'm gonna cut you loose. See you later. Stay cool and safe.
Take care, guys.
All right. Bye now.
Right.